तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं शरवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि नन्ति भूरिदा जनाः. Your words are like nectar, bring life to scorched souls. They are praised by poets and remove all sin. They are auspicious to hear, wonderful and exalted. Those who spread these words throughout the world are truly giving souls. Welcome to our class on the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. We're on the chapter, The Master and Narendra, and we're starting on page 715, and the date is Saturday, March 7th, 1885. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Sri Ramakrishna was in his room at Dakshineshwar, conversing happily with his devotees. Baburam, the younger Naren, Paltu, Haripodo, Mohini Mohan, and others were present. A young Brahmin who had been staying with the master a few days was also there. This Mohini Mohan is M. One of the names that he uses several different names, but they all begin with an M. And the reason, whenever we find him using one of these names, is there's something personal involved in what's taking place, conversation or the events that are taking place. His son had recently passed away, and his wife was practically mad. And so whenever he brings his wife to see Sri Ramakrishna, or there's some talk about it, of course, he always refers to himself in the third person, but he hides himself even more. But all of these begin with an M. So we know that. And this younger Naren, I thought I would say a few words about him. Choto Naren. He was called the younger one because of Narendra, who was older. Let me see what we have about him. He lived in Champakor, and he was one of M's students. Many of these were M's students, we know that. And he was a very pure-souled devotee, received the grace of Sri Ramakrishna, and he felt a very strong attraction to Sri Ramakrishna, and he had to undergo many difficulties in order to go to see him in Dakshina. He was one of the many young boys, students, whose parents were very much against him going, and some of them would get a beating. So he was one of them. And Thakur also was always very eager to see him, and very often after seeing him, he would go into samadhi. So this is one attorney to the mission in any legal matters. He would advise them and everything. And then it says, but the very sad thing is that later there was not much happiness in his worldly life. I don't know exactly what or anything, but anyway, that's the younger Naren. The Holy Mother, Sri Ramakrishna's wife, was living in the Nahabat. Occasionally, she would come to Sri Ramakrishna's room to attend to his needs. Mohini Mohan, so again, this is M, and this is the reason, had brought his wife and Nobin's mother with him to the temple garden from Calcutta. The ladies were with the Holy Mother. They were waiting for an opportunity to visit the master when the men devotees would leave the room. This was a standard thing. So Sri Ramakrishna, he was very gracious towards M's wife, but really turned her over to Holy Mother. And Holy Mother was the one who took her on several different pilgrimages and looked after her and had tremendous compassion towards her. And Sri Ramakrishna was sitting on the small couch As he looked at the young devotees, his face beamed with joy. Rakal was not then living at Dakshineshwar with the master. Since his return from Vrindavan, he had been living at home. So he had gotten married earlier, but in those days with the marriage, they don't always consummate the marriage or live with the wife at that young age. Uh, he stayed with Sri Ramakrishna for some time, then went to Vrindavan and fell ill. And Thakur was very nervous and worried about him, that if anything should happen to him. Then he came back, and now he's staying at home. That means his young wife is there with him. Master smiling. Rakal is now enjoying his pension. Thakur knew this word in English. So whenever we see in quotes the pension, we know that it was the actual use of that word. Since his return from Vrindavan, he had been staying at home. His wife is there, but he said to me that he would not accept any work, even if he were offered a salary of 1,000 rupees. Now, this sounds odd to us. We think, what is it, lazy young man? He's not willing to work for money. But Sri Ramakrishna was very much against the type of work that they had to do in those days. That they were I won't say a servitude, but it was the civil service types of jobs usually that they had to give up all of their freedom. Sometimes they had to compromise even with truthfulness and things like that. So Thakur, he said, I'd rather hear about his death than to hear that he had taken a job. And Niranjan, he took a job. He said if it hadn't been, he took it only because of his mother. They needed money in the family. If it hadn't been for that, I couldn't look at his face. So anyhow, this was a special thing with those who were to become monks. It wasn't with others. Raka would lie down here and say to me that he didn't care even for my company. He was then passing through such an exalted state. Yeah, this is a stage in spiritual life when devotees, they just want to be alone and be indrawn and not mix with anybody. So he says, even with him, even that type of holy company, that Swamiji went through that, of course, and some of the others. Bhavanath is married. Now, this Bhavanath we know was a dear friend of Narendra, and Thakur considered him to be one of these Nitya Siddhas, and fully expected, as far as we can tell, fully expected him to take to monastic life. But it was the common case in those days that these young boys didn't have much freedom if the parents really pressed them, forced them to get married, arranged a marriage for them, and they could have run away from home or something, but still, it was difficult. So most of those who got married at this young age, it wasn't because they had a great desire for it. So this was the case with the Bhavanath, and it says Bhavanath is married, Thakur is talking, but he spends the whole night in spiritual conversation with his wife. The couple passed their time talking of God alone. I said to him, have a little fun with your wife now and then. What? He retorted angrily. Shall we too indulge in frivolity? Yeah, I sometimes think that these arranged marriages, and the wife is also very young, and he's also young at this time, that they don't feel like they're married. They don't know if it'll take a long time before they feel like a real husband and wife couple. And in the beginning, there's probably a lot of shyness also. But later we see that Bhavanath slowly drifted away a little bit, especially towards the end of Thakur's life, but remained friends with Narendra and with the other monks and helped Bharanagar and other things. So his case is very unusual, how Thakur thought so highly of him, and then he was a little bit of a fringe almost devotee during that Kashipur time, this Kashipur garden time, that Sri Ramakrishna, he himself used to say that this was a sifting out of the inner circle and outer circle, this period, That there'll be those who will drift away a little bit. There'll be those who will think, what kind of holy man is he really getting sick? The holy person shouldn't get sick like that with cancer and everything. So this somehow the Bhavanat drifted away a little bit at that time. But Sri Ramakrishna, he always felt that Narendra and Bhavanat were a perfect pair. That one was more masculine, the other less, more feminine, you could say, but they had a similar spiritual attitude. Thakur liked to pair these devotees together. That company of each of them would be helpful for both of them that way. Sri Ramakrishna began to talk about Narendra, master to the devotees. I haven't felt the same strong longing for the younger Naren that I felt for Narendra. Now, this isn't to say that he didn't feel that strong feeling for anybody. He used to say with Purna, because of Purna, he was practically mad to see Purna. He would say, you see, this how I feel about Purna, nothing compared to how I felt with that longing to see Narendra. So that was a unique thing. To a Haripada. Do you go to Girish Ghosh's house as a Haripada? He was a married man, but staying with Sri Ramakrishna at that time. Somehow he went a little crazy later. Anyhow. So again, this question of Girish Ghosh comes up. We saw last time how many times he's asking, especially Narendra, do you go there and everything. So now he's saying to this Haripada, do you go to Girish Ghosh's house? Haripada, yes, I go there very often. He is our neighbor. Master, does Narendra too go there? He's so concerned about Narendra visiting Girish. And I still don't know if it's the positive side or the negative side. It is very confusing to me that will Narendra be affected at all by this wild type of life that Girish led before, and warning him that the bowl that is had garlic in it will keep the smell a little bit, or is he so impressed with Girish's devotion and faith in Sri Ramakrishna that he's happy that others are going there? It seems to be a little of each. It's very hard to say. So now he's asking, does Narendra too go there? Haripada, yes, I see him there occasionally. Master, what does he say in reply to Girish? So there's again that question of this avatar. It says in brackets, Girish Ghosh spoke of Sri Ramakrishna as an incarnation of God. Haripada, Narendra has been defeated in the argument. Master, no. Narendra says, Girish Ghosh has such strong faith. Why should I contradict him? Yes, Narendra, he could argue with the best of them, but he was very sensitive to the feelings of other people. One very nice example is Gopal Ma. That here Narendra, he didn't care for all of these visions and things, and but this Gopal Ma says to him one day, my child, I see this Gopal, he's clinging to my neck, are these things true? And he says, yes, mother, these things are true. Did he really believe? Probably at that time. He's very truthful, but anyhow, it shows that he was very sensitive to the feelings of other people. The brother of Judge Anukul Mukhopadhyay's son-in-law was in the room, and the master asked him, do you know Narendra? Everything Narendra. This is why the others were so annoyed. Are we nobody? Oh, you're Narendra. Brother, yes, sir. He is a very intelligent young man. Master to the devotees. He must be a good man because he speaks highly of Narendra. Narendra was here the other day and sang with Trailokya Sanyal, the Brahmo Samaj. But that day his singing seemed flat to me. Yeah, sometimes Thakur would say that part of Narendra's mind now is drawn to this lawsuit and so worried about his family, his mother and brothers, sisters starving and everything, that was weighing on his mind a little bit. And Thakur could feel that, and it would affect his the way he sings and his attitude and everything was affected by that so much. Baburam was a student in the entrance class in the school where M taught. Later, Swami Premananda. Master to Baburam. Where are your books? Aren't you attending to your studies? To M. He wants to stick to both. Again, a footnote, to God and the world. Yeah, he wasn't really, even then, not very much attached. But who at that young age is ready to just renounce and give up everything? It's and Thakur is a little bit poking now with. See, this is a good technique. Right in front of him, he's talking about him. He's not saying you want to stick to both. He's right there. He's telling the others he wants to stick to both. So this is a way of poking a little. That is very difficult. What will you gain by knowing God partially? Vasishtadeva, great sage that he was overcome at the death of his sons. That amazed Lakshmana, and he asked Rama the reason. Rama said, Brother, what is there to wonder at? He who has knowledge has ignorance also. Brother, go beyond both knowledge and ignorance. If a thorn enters the sole of your foot, you get another thorn to take out the first one. Afterwards, you throw both away. Likewise, one procures the thorn of knowledge to remove the thorn of ignorance. Then one goes beyond both knowledge and ignorance. Yeah, this is a little bit of a difficult concept because we understand that the ignorance is removed by knowledge, and knowledge is the ultimate goal, especially for the jnani. But this is that idea of this Vidya Shakti and Avidya Shakti, and this idea that knowledge belongs to the Sattva, and this Tamas is ignorance. Tamas and Rajas is ignorance. Through the Sattva, we can transcend that, but then we have to go beyond Sattva also. Or we can say this is going beyond the understanding level of things, this Sharavana Manana, and getting to the Dithyasana, getting to that stage where we go beyond the simply cerebral and mental, intellectual understanding of things and try to really dive deep and have the direct experience of things. But they're not the same. We can't throw away sattva at the very beginning, along with tamas and rajas. We have to go stage by stage, transcend tamas with rajas, transcend rajas with sattva, and then sattva will gradually go to Shuddha Sattva, this pure Sattva, and then beyond the three gunas. Baburam is smiling. That's what I want, to go beyond both knowledge and ignorance. Master smiling. But my child, can you attain it by holding to both? If you want that, then come away. Baburam smiling. Take me away from the world. Baburam came from a family of great devotees. His mother, especially, was very devoted to Sri Ramakrishna. Their home in Antpur, now one of the centers of our order. And Holy Mother stayed for a good length of time there. The room where she stayed, you can visit that. All of the direct disciples went there. We know all of the stories. That Christmas Eve, this is where they decided to take monastic vows. And a very touching story about this Baburam's mother, that because she knew Sri Ramakrishna was so devoted to Sri Ramakrishna, that he went to her and said, I want you to give me something. She said, what? I want you to give me your son. That means that he'll renounce the world and everything. So she said, does a mother give up a son just like that without getting anything in return? She had that relationship with him. She could speak freely like that. And he said, what do you want? And he said, grant me the boon that I won't have to live so long that I see the death of any of my children. She had 3 sons that way. So he granted that boon. Then many years later, this Swami Premanandi, he was very, very ill, and they were all assuming that he would give up the body. And they were almost preparing him for that and everything. And he said, no, it is not possible. My mother is still living. And he recovered from that. And then afterwards, his mother passed away, and then he passed away shortly after that. So Babaram, smiling, take me away from the world. Master to him, Rakal lived with me, but that was different. His father agreed to it. If these boys stay here, there will be trouble. Yeah, so I don't understand exactly. If anyone's mother would have agreed, it would have been her. Why would have been trouble? Probably he's staying with. This was very common. The family is living in a village, and he's staying in Kolkata with some other relatives, some uncle or something like that. That was very common. Who knows? Maybe they were the ones objecting more. And Rakal's father, did he really agree? He half agreed when he saw that there were influential people there. This was the thing. Rakal's father was a worldly man, and Thakur was happy to see when Rakal's father came that there were some other sub-judges and other people there that he could talk to, and he could see that if they showed respect, he should show respect, something like that. Otherwise, we don't see any real spirituality in Rakal's father, at least from the description that we get. And at some point, I guess he more or less agreed that Rakal could stay there. To Babaram, you have no strength of mind. Now, this Babu had tremendous strength of mind. He's poking him, and he's still young. Yeah, he wasn't so young. He was older than Narendra by 2 years, I think. So he was born in 61, I believe. So he's 24. He's not a boy at this point. You have no strength of mind. You haven't much courage. Just see how the younger Naran says, I will come away for good. And yet the younger Naran couldn't do it, and Bhagavan could. This Ramakrishna came down from the small couch and sat among the youngsters on the floor. M sat by his side. Master to M, I've been seeking one who was totally renounced lust and gold. When I find a young man, I think that perhaps he will live with me, but everyone raises some objection or other. A ghost sought a companion. It is said that a man who dies on a Saturday or Tuesday becomes a ghost. Therefore, it's some accidental death. Whenever the ghost saw anybody fall from a roof or stumble and faint on the road on either of those days, he would run to him, hoping that the man, through an accidental death, would become a ghost and be his companion. But such was his ill luck that everyone revived. The poor thing could not get a companion. So this is Ramakrishna. This is what he prayed for. He prayed to the Divine Mother, give me just a handful of the pure souled, these young boys or young men who want to renounce everything for God. He had many, many others who came, respected him, loved him. The Brahmos and the householder devotees, but these were the ones that he wanted, real companions, the ghost companions. Just see, Rakal always gives his wife as an excuse. Now he's poking Rakal also. See, he's having fun with all of them. He says, what will become of her? Yeah, now this is, of course, a legitimate concern. She was probably, I think, 15 or something when they got married, something like that. And of course, in those days, with these joint families and everything, that the whole family is there to look after her. It's a little bit different, but still, naturally, he'll be concerned. Just see, Rakal always gives his wife as an excuse. He says, what will become of her? When I touched Narendra on the chest, this was that first meeting in Dakshineshwar, he became unconscious. Then he cried out, "Oh, what have you done to me? Don't you know that I have a father and a mother?" So again, Thakur used to tease him. It was such a uh, important event and dramatic event that Narendra is going to this ecstatic state. Thakur is worshiping the great sage Nara. The Narayana come to earth, or this, and now he's just teasing him about it. Why has God made me lead this kind of life? That means the life of a monk. Chaitanya Deva became a sannyasi so that all would salute him. Now it sounds terrible. It sounds that he's so egotistical. He's becoming a sannyasi. He wants people to bow down to him. Doesn't mean that at all. It says, whoever salutes an incarnation even once obtains liberation. So somehow he knew that he was destined to lead this life. He had a mission. He had to take sannyasa in order to do it, and that others would achieve liberation through recognizing him and serving him. So it was really a selfless type of thing. His situation was also very, very heart-rending. That he had, I think, 10 brothers, something like that, and all of them died, except one. His older brother was a sannyasi. Yeah. So he was the only remaining son to look after her, and so it's similar to Narendra. What a struggle it was for him, knowing that he has some mission to perform in life to fulfill, that Sri Ramakrishna wants him to renounce everything, and yet his other two brothers are too young. He's the only one who can really look after the family. So the Chaitanya Deva had that same dilemma. And this Nimai Sannyasa, there's this whole play that's put on that I know that people watch this and tears are coming. It's a sad thing that he has to go and take leave of his mother, and just leave her. He goes at night to Keshav Bharati's hut and takes sannyas. There are a lot of songs about this. Mohini Mohan, still referring to himself that way, had brought a basket of sweetmeats for Sri Ramakrishna. Master, who has brought these sweets? Baburam pointed to Mohini Mohan. Yeah, sometimes he would say, who has brought these sweets? And they would point to a certain devotee. He'd say, oh, that rascal, I can't touch these. He would say something. But M brought them, so then it's fine. Sri Ramakrishna touched the sweets, uttering the word Om, and ate a little. Then he distributed them among the devotees. To the surprise of the others, he fed the younger Naren and a few of the boys with his own hand. Yeah. So that means really taking it and putting it in the mouth. Yeah. Not just handing it to them or something like that. Something that a mother will do with a small child. Master Duem. This has a meaning. There's a greater manifestation of God in men of pure heart. In former years, when I used to go to Kamarpukur, I would feed some of the young boys with my own hand. Chine Shankari would say, why doesn't he feed us that way? But how could I? They led an immoral life. Who would feed them? Now, this is also a little strange for several reasons. First of all, they didn't really lead an immoral life. They led a house sort of family life. This Chine Shankari, he was a really very special soul. Let me just read a little about him. What it says here. So he was a very righteous person. Of course, he lived in Kamarpukur, and he was a very high noble type of Vaishnava sadhaka. And Godadhara, uh, he recognized Ramakrishna even in his childhood as of being of a divine nature. They say he was the first to recognize him as a divine nature, and it was his firm conviction that he himself, that Chaitanya Deva himself, had taken form, had been born as Godadhar. That was the name of Sri Ramakrishna. So, devout Vaishnava, follower of Chaitanya Deva, felt that Chaitanya Deva had been born as Sri Ramakrishna. And he worshipped Sri Ramakrishna as a boy, as his chosen deity. And he was one of the companions during his Balya Lila, during the childhood portion of his divine play. And then later, whenever Sri Ramakrishna would go back to Kamarpukur for visits, then he would spend some time with Chinu Dada, with this Chinu Shankari, and he led a long life. And at the very end of his life, towards the end of his life, he always maintained tremendous faith and devotion and shraddha for Sri Ramakrishna. So we shouldn't think that he's some nasty character. Thakur's not going to feed him. It simply means that he didn't take to this type of life that this minute. He became a good, pious householder. And it says us. He doesn't say me. That means there could have been others who were much worse than him. Yeah, why doesn't he feed us that way? Sri Ramakrishna was in the happiest mood with his young and pure soul devotees. Yeah, we can see how he's teasing and having fun with them. He was seated on the small couch and was doing funny imitations of a kirtani. These are the women singers of kirtan. Professional singers. They have their own way of doing things. The devotees laughed heartily. The kirtani is dressed lavishly and covered with ornaments. She sings, standing on the floor, a colored kerchief in her hand. Now and then she coughs to draw people's attention and blows her nose, raising her nose ring. When a respectable gentleman enters the room, she welcomes him with appropriate words, still continuing her song. Now and then she pulls her sari from her arms to show off her jewels. The devotees were convulsed with laughter at this mimicry by Sri Ramakrishna. Yeah, Thakur was a master at imitating people, making fun. Poltu rolled on the ground. Pointing to him, the master said to him, "Look at that child. He is rolling with laughter." He said to Poltu with a smile, "Don't report this to your father, or he will lose the little respect he has for me. You see, he is an Englishman." Another word that Thakur knew. Englishman, that meant is Western educated people, English speaking. Master to the devotees. There are people who indulge in all kinds of gossip at the time of their daily devotions. As you know, one is not permitted to talk then, so they make all kinds of signs, keeping their lips closed. In order to say, "Bring this, bring that," they make sounds like hoo, ooh, all such things they do. Laughter. Again, there's some who bargain for fish while telling their beads. As they count the rosary with the finger, they point out that fish, indicating, "That one, please." They reserve all their business for that time. Laughter. Yeah, many they'll have this bag, and the one finger will be sticking out. So that's the only one. With that one, they'll point this fish. There are women who come to the Ganges for their bath, and instead of thinking of God, gossip about no end of things. See, Thakur, he was such an astute observer of people and things and places. What jewels did you offer at the time of your son's marriage? Has so-and-so returned from her father-in-law's house? So-and-so is seriously ill. So-and-so went to see the bride. We hope that they will offer a magnificent dowry and that there will be a great feast. Harish always nags at me. He can't stay away from me even an hour. My child, I couldn't come to see you all these days. I was so busy with the betrothal of so and so's daughter. You see, they've come to bathe in the holy river, and yet they indulge in all sorts of worldly talk. The master began to look intently at the younger Naren and went into samadhi. This was a very common thing that Thakur, when he would see these pure souled devotees, that it would just raise his mind to a point where he would lose all consciousness of the world. Did he see God himself in the pure souled devotee? The devotee silently watched the figure of Sri Ramakrishna motionless in samadhi. The samadhi, this is probably this what we call bhava samadhi, that something triggers it, and then Thakur has some type of experience there. He can come down and say what he had. Nirvikalpa samadhi, he can't say, but these are different types of things. A few minutes before, there had been so much laughter in the room. Now there was a deep silence, as if no one were there. The master sat with folded hands, as in his photograph. After a short while, his mind began to come down to the relative plane. He heaved a long sigh and became aware of the outer world. He looked at the devotees and began to talk with them of their spiritual progress. Now, when Thakur would come down from this state, bhava, he would remain with a little that intoxication. And it would sometimes say very prophetic types of things, how far each one is proceeded, has gone in the spiritual life and everything. Master to the younger Naren, I have been eager to see you. You will succeed. Come here once in a while. Well, which did you prefer, jnana or bhakti? The younger Naren, pure bhakti. Master. Now, this pure bhakti, this Shuddha bhakti, Thakur sometimes he speaks about this as the absolute highest. The Jnana Mishra Bhakti is a lower form. Other times he'll say, how can you love someone if you don't know them? This pure bhakti, it has two different senses, two different meanings. Sometimes Thakur talks about it as if bhakti alone, no interest in jnana at all. Other times this Shuddha Bhakti means a hetuki bhakti. It means without asking for wanting anything, motiveless devotion, loving God only for the sake of God, not even for God realization or anything. That type of pure devotion. So he uses it in these two different senses. Here, when he says pure bhakti, he's going to take this as I don't care to know anything. I don't know any of the jnana. I just want devotion. Master. But how can you love someone unless you know him? So he's going to look at it from that point of view. Pointing to M with a smile. How can you love him unless you know him? To M. Since a pure souled person has asked for pure bhakti, it must have some meaning. So he's not really saying anything negative about this. He's just pointing out that don't be so negative about this jnana. But he's impressed. A young boy can come up with that type of answer. One does not seek bhakti of one's own accord without inborn tendencies, samskaras. So this is that unknown factor that we assume. This is when we see that those who are born with such a pure heart and such easy, simple type of devotion, and there's no other explanation for it, that we have to conclude that this is something that they were born with special type of purity. It can be nourished after they're born, but it has to be Thakur was very strong on this idea. There's a belief in samskaras. He didn't care so much. Wasn't pushing this idea of reincarnation and how many births and everything, but he did push this idea, especially with M. He wanted M. He asked many times. He wanted M to accept that idea that these young boys and others, uh, because of what they had done in a previous lifetime, were born with they were ripe for this. It was very easy for them to achieve some uh, higher types of devotion because of these good samskaras. So one does not seek bhakti. Well, not a question of getting it. We won't even want it. If we're born with any spiritual longing at all in this lifetime, we have to assume that we were born with some good samskaras. We can assume that we've also gotten God's grace. But I won't say that these are two very different types of explanations. Through God's grace, we have these good samskaras. Because of these good samskaras, we're able to access God's grace. They're not two completely different explanations. So one does not seek bhakti of one's own accord without inborn tendencies, samskaras. This is the characteristic of prema bhakti. So bhakti is love of God. Prema is ecstatic love of God. It's just a deeper, higher type of where one forgets everything. Thakur used to say that one becomes unaware even of one's own body, which is so precious to Priogenis, which is so precious to everyone. One forgets even the body with his prema. There's another kind of bhakti called jnana bhakti. Sometimes we call this jnana mishrita bhakti, which is love of God based on reasoning. For most of us, we need a little bit of this reasoning to develop some conviction, even in the existence of God. Yeah, or the fact that God can manifest in human form. Any of these things, if we're not born with this natural faith, then we have to analyze and think these things, and this is how we develop this conviction. This conviction, very important. To the younger Nudden, let me look at your body. Take off your shirt. Fairly broad chest. You will succeed. Come here now and then. This is still in some ecstatic mood. He's saying all of these things. Thakur had some innate ability to judge the nature of a person's mind and some samskaras and everything through physical signs. So very often he would want to see, and sometimes he would want to see how guileless a person was. Yeah, can they stand before him, take their clothes off? Are they guileless like a child? So he'll talk about that. You will succeed too, but it will take a little time. This is the Paltu. To Babaram, why don't I attract you to me? It is just to avoid trouble. So he's a little bit, I think, because his Babaram's mother is so devoted to him that he's sensitive to her feelings as a mother. If he really wanted to, he could attract him to the point where his Babaram gives up his everything and comes directly to him. To Mohini Mohan, again, M is still using that name. As for you, you were all right. So this means in that state of samadhi, again, and it happened on other occasions, sometimes he'll say, I saw how far each of all the devotees had gone, how much was left for them and everything. So apparently he saw something like that this time also. So to him, as for you, you were all right. There's a little yet to be done. When that is achieved, nothing will remain, neither duty, nor work, nor the world itself. Is it good to get rid of everything? That means all at once and at that particular time. He has a wife who's grieving also. That was and he had problems with his family and his father. He didn't get along with them. He had a very unhappy life from the worldly point of view. As Ramakrishna spoke these words, he looked at Mohini affectionately as if scanning his inmost feeling. Was Mohini really wondering whether it would be wise to renounce all for God? Now we remember when uh, M spent those 3 weeks during the Christmas vacation with Sri Ramakrishna, and one time Sri Ramakrishna was looking for him and calling for him, and he saw him sitting there, I think the bell tree, and he said, "Oh, I had some slight fear that perhaps you would scale the wall and run away." So like this Vaishnava Charan, he said. He always knew it was in M's mind that a little more of a push, a little more scorching in the world, and a little more longing for God. He was ready to renounce the world. If Thakur had encouraged him, he would have done it. He practically begged him, really. But Thakur knew that he wanted him to remain, as we say, is Gurihi Sannyasi, that with the mind of the sannyasi, the heart of the sannyasi, but living, fulfilling family duties. Now, this is the way M writes it. It's really interesting. He's asking, was Mohini really wondering? He knows he's the one who's writing it. He is Mohini. And he knows that, yes, he was wondering. Was Mohini really wondering whether it would be wise to renounce all for God? After a while, Sri Ramakrishna said, God binds the Bhagavata Pandit to the world with one tie. Otherwise, who would remain to explain the sacred book? He keeps the Pandit bound for the good of men. That is why the Divine Mother has kept you in the world. He wanted M to be an example, a special type of example. And just like Swamiji wanted his disciple Gyan Maharaj to remain as an example of one who doesn't take the final sannyas vows, but lives a life of a brahmachari. It's some special case like that. Now Sri Ramakrishna spoke to the young Brahmin. So this is the one person in the room we don't know anything about. He's not one of the close devotees or anything. He'd been staying there for a few days, we read in the beginning. Master, give up knowledge and reasoning except bhakti. Now, we also have to remember that this is special advice he's given to this particular person, knowing the nature of this person. And there'll be others that he'll, I mean, in general, he likes bhakti, we know that. But there'll be others where he won't be so strong. Give up knowledge and reasoning. Of course, this is vichara, this type of argumentative reasoning that he kept telling him to give up. But this is special emphasis on bhakti for this person. Bhakti alone is the essence. Bhakti sar. Thakur used to say that the one essential thing is love of God. Is this the third day of your stay here? Brahmin with folded hands. Yes, sir. Master, have faith. Depend on God. Then you will not have to do anything yourself. Mother Kali will do everything for you. Yeah, so this is that question. When can we say that I do as God makes me do, that Mother is doing everything for me? When can we say that? When we have no egotistical feeling, when we have no personal selfish desire for anything, when we only act as prompted to act within or according to dharma or for the welfare of others, only then can we have some feeling that I do as Mother makes me do, some inner urge, this antaryaman, this idea, the slightest sense of I or ego or pride or selfishness, then we can't say that. So here is very beautiful the way he says that have faith and depend on God. Don't make any decisions just based on your own selfish interest for anything. Then you will not have to do anything yourself. Mother Kali will do everything for you. Jnana goes as far as the outer court, but bhakti can enter the inner court. Outer court will be the mind. This is cerebral. This is intellectual. That no matter how high the thought is, even our tattvamasi, that still this is taking place within the mind. And bhakti is within the heart. So we can have that experience, yes, one with the ultimate reality, but it won't be a mental thing. Then we'll merge in it. It'll have to be experiential. We may not say devotional, experiential, still beyond this simple type of intellectual thinking. Jnana goes as far as the outer court, but bhakti can enter the inner court. The pure self is unattached. So this pure Atman is unattached. Both vidya and avidya are in it, but it is unattached. So that means that these belong to the mind, and this mind is the way this consciousness is functioning. This Atman, it's functioning through the mind, then we could say Jivatman. But the real self, as the witness, is not affected by any of these things. Sometimes there's a good and sometimes a bad smell in the air, but the air itself is unaffected. It can just be blown through the air. It won't cling to anything or stain anything. It just be, get a fan going, you'll clean the whole air out. Once, Vyasadeva was about to cross the Yamuna. The gopis also were there. They wanted to go to the other side of the river to sell curd, milk, and cream, but there was no ferry at that time. They were all worried about how to cross the river when Vyasa said to them, "I am very hungry." The milkmaids fed him with milk and cream. He finished almost all their food. There's no real reason to cross to the other side at this point. Huh? They didn't have anything. He finished almost all their food. Then Vyasa said to the river, "Oh, Yamuna, if I have not eaten anything, then your waters will part and we shall walk through." It so happened. The river parted and a pathway was formed between the waters. Following that path, the gopis and Vyasa crossed the river. Vyasa had said, "If I have not eaten anything," that means the real man is pure Atman. Atman is unattached and beyond prakriti. What is eating? Some food is going into the mouth, it's getting digested in the stomach and all of that. I am the witness. I am the self. I am not the eater of food. I'm the observer. The real man is pure Atman. Atman is unattached and beyond prakriti, beyond nature. It has neither hunger nor thirst. It knows neither birth nor death. It does not age nor does it die. It is immutable as Mount Sumeru. Now, this is the same Sri Ramakrishna who just a few seconds ago was saying to forget about jnana. And now he's giving the highest type of wisdom regarding the nature of the self. If we go through this gospel, it's filled with the most subtle, deepest type of understanding of this jnana yoga. What is the real nature of the self, the real nature of Brahman? Is every page you'll find it. And still, he'll emphasize for most people is bhakti. But they're not contradictory. This is the thing, that we, unless we have some deeper understanding of the nature of reality, nature of the self, nature of God and everything, then we won't be able to reach that heart level. He who has attained this knowledge of Brahman is a jivan mukta, liberated while living in the body. He rightly understands that the Atman and the body are two separate things. How he goes right from this devotion to this Advaita Vedanta. After realizing God, one does not identify the Atman with the body. These two are separate, like the kernel and the shell of the coconut when its milk dries up. The Atman moves, as it were, within the body. The Atman moves, as it were, because of this connection with the mind. If the mind moves, it seems as if this consciousness is moving. It seems as if consciousness is going up or down. It's all the mind. When the milk of worldly mindedness has dried up, this is the image of the coconut again. One gets self-knowledge. Then one feels that Atman and body are two separate things. The kernel of a green almond or betel nut cannot be separated from the shell, but when they are ripe, the juice dries up and the kernel separates from the shell. After the attainment of the knowledge of Brahman, the milk of worldly mindedness dries up. Yeah, this is such a nice example. We know with the coconut that if you take a coconut, you want to find out if the milk is all dried up, and if the meat of the coconut is separated from the shell, you shake it. You shake it. You can hear it bounce back and forth. Then you know if you break it open, you don't have to scoop it out or try to. That it's completely separate. huh? This is a God realized soul. Now, everybody's situation is the same, but it's their realization of it. Their realization of it that they're like that. Okay, so that's the positive side. Now the negative side is going to come. But it is extremely difficult to attain the knowledge of Brahman. Why is it so difficult? It takes tremendous dispassion. It takes tremendous disassociation from the world. It takes tremendous uh, sharpness of intellect. It takes tremendous one-pointed devotion for realization that it involves not getting attached to anything. This is why it was always meant for sannyasis. This was the standard thing. Even the Upanishads meant for that stage of sannyasa. But it is extremely difficult to attain the knowledge of Brahman. One doesn't get it by merely talking about it. Of course, one doesn't get devotion by merely talking about it either. Some people feign it, smiling. There was a man who was a great liar, but on the one hand, he used to say he had the knowledge of Brahman. This must be the same. There was one sannyasi who was staying in that area that people said he would tell lies, and Thakur approached him one day and says, "Is it true?" And he said, "This whole world is false. Only my words have to be true." Spit on that type of that. It probably the same person, and he doesn't say exactly, but there was a man who was a great liar, but on the one hand, he used to say he had the knowledge of Brahman. When someone took him to task for telling lies, Thakur himself, he said, "Why? This world is truly like a dream. If everything is unreal, then can truth itself be real? Truth is as unreal as falsehood." All laugh. Sri Ramakrishna sat with the devotees on the mat on the floor. He was smiling. He said to the devotees, "Please stroke my feet gently." They carried out his request. He said to M, "There's great significance in this, the stroking of feet." Now he's M, not Mohini. It's safe now to use that. Yeah, Thakur somehow was able to transmit spirituality through a touch, through a glance, and through its feet. Somehow there's something very special about that. And this rubbing of feet, of course, generally is reserved for very senior sadhus, if at all, that this is considered a great blessing for devotees, and also very nice type of service. In India, people were walking on foot most of the time in the old days without shoes, and the feet were always sore. and it would be a great relief to have somebody massage the feet. So, and the devotees would feel blessed to do it, and some type of spirituality would be transmitted through that act. Somehow, those who did it with great love and devotion. So he said to him, "There is great significance in this, the stroking of his feet." Placing his hand on his heart, the master said, "If there is anything here," that means if there's really any manifestation of divinity in this very special sense, if there is anything here, then through this service, the ignorance and illusion of the devotees will be completely destroyed. Yeah, this is the power of the avatar. Suddenly, Sri Ramakrishna became serious, as if about to reveal a secret. Master to M. There is no outsider here. Uh, he used to say that before he would give this Guchakotha. He would say, "You see, there's no stranger here. You're all part of my inner circle." And then he would give it. It's interesting that all of these things that were considered as Guchakotha, that these were reserved for the fourth volume of the Kotamrita, that M didn't reveal these things in the very beginning. It was only towards the end or later when he felt it's not right to withhold even those things that Thakur said were very secret things, not meant for everybody. Master to M. There is no outsider here. The other day, when Harish was with me, I saw Satchidananda come out of this sheath. That means his body. He had many experiences like that. Whereas some young boy would come out and they would play with each other, different things like that. This means it's Brahman in some embodied form. It said, so he hears the voice. It said, I incarnate myself in every age. So this will be this Ishvara, we can say. I thought that I myself was saying these words out of mere fancy. I kept quiet and watched. Again, Satchidananda itself spoke, saying, Chaitanya too worshipped Shakti. And Thakur said this in other times also. Uh, is it interesting because the followers of Chaitanya Deva and the Shaktas quarrel with each other. And they're very much against generally the Shakta tradition because of some of the taking of meat and wine, other things like that. But the philosophy of this Chaitanya school uh, has this old beautiful symbolic way of understanding the Shakti with Radha and the other gopis being representing Hladani Shakti, different Shaktis of Krishna, meaning Purusha and Prakriti or Shiva Shakti, that type of it. So it's there. It's definitely there. The devotees listened to these words in amazement. Some wondered whether God himself was seated before them in the form of Sri Ramakrishna. Now, this means again M. M doesn't know anyone else is wondering. He knows that he's wondering. And not wondering, but thinking. Yeah. And not like, is it possible, but yeah, feeling that it's not possible that for Thakur to say these things and have these experiences unless it's true. Some wondered whether God himself was seated before them in the form of Sri Ramakrishna. The master paused a moment. Then he said, addressing M, I saw. See, he knows that thought is going through M's mind. I saw that it is the fullest manifestation of Satchidananda, but this time the divine power is manifested through the glory of Sattva. That meant there was no display, there was no show, that no vision of the divine universal form like Krishna gave to Arjuna, nothing. And yes, it is the most simple, not even a show of wearing garo or anything in this incarnation. The devotee sat spellbound. So we'll stop here. This is the middle of page 720. Om Niranjanam Nityamanantarupam Bhaktanukam Bhathrutavikraham Ishavataram Parameshamedhyam Tam Ramakrishnam Shirasa Namama. We bow our heads before Sri Ramakrishna, who is stainless, of infinite nature, whose heart melts in sympathy for his devotees, who is an embodiment of the divine and the supreme Lord, and ever worthy of our worship. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. So, everyone, we wish you, of course, a very happy Durga Puja, now the beginning. There's 3 main days of celebration in India. Here we'll have, of course, on Sunday. So everyone is most welcome to come. If you can't come, it'll all be live streamed. And if you come and the parking lot is full, we have permission to park not in the Moose Lodge this year, they have a function, but in the senior citizen home that, what's the name? Homecrest, huh? Aspenwood, Aspenwood, right in the corner of Belpre and Homecrest. Aspenwood, but don't park near. Park as far away as you can. It's a very short walk to the center from there. So, everyone, we hope everyone stays well, and blessings of Divine Mother and all of us.